I am very frustrated that one of our rivals papers this morning has put a headline on Alice's story that is frankly disgusting.
Our top story today, and of course it was our top story yesterday. We broke the news on our programme yesterday that the comedian and actor Russell Brand has been accused of rape, sexual assault and emotional abuse over a 7-year period at the height of his fame. Today, a women's charity, Trevi, has cut ties with the comedian after the allegations have come to light. Now, the allegations are from a very intense joint investigations by the Sunday Times, the Times newspaper, and Channel 4 dispatches. 4 women have come forward with allegations of rape and sexual assault between 2006 to 2013, whilst others have cited Brand's controlling and predatory behaviour. Here's reporter Charlotte Wace speaking about the women's decision to speak out about their experiences with Brand.
I can only speak about the women I've spoken to personally, but Nadia, for instance, in our conversations had referenced her fear that she would not be believed and how she had not known about other women with allegations about Brand too. And her primary motivation in speaking out, she says, has been to help other women who may have been through something similar.
Well, I'm delighted to be joined by 2 very knowledgeable guests. In a moment, we'll be speaking with Dr. Charlotte Proudman, a barrister specialising in violence against women and girls. But we're also joined in the studio, and we're very grateful to have her because, my goodness, what a couple of days it's been. Rosamund Urwin, media editor at the Sunday Times, who worked on the story. Ros, I'm going to start with you. Charlotte, thanks very much for joining us. So we'll just come to you in a moment. I mean, what has it been like working on this story, and what's been the reaction since the news broke really about 24 hours ago?
Well, it was quite staggering because I've worked on this for a very long time, and to see it on every front page this morning, it is astounding. And, you know, my Twitter has gone bananas. My email's gone bananas. I don't think I've ever had quite as many messages on a story as I have on this one.
And what's the sort of tone of the response been?
The huge amount has been incredibly positive. There's a lot of comedians, people who've brought up these allegations in their sets who are saying this is finally out there. I got a very nice message from a friend of mine who said that he was fearful because he'd known about these allegations but hadn't been able, he's a fellow journalist who hadn't been able to publish them, that he was worried he was going to be one of those talking heads discussing how we couldn't get this story out and isn't it terrible in sort of 40 years' time. And now he was pleased that wasn't going to be the case because the story was broken. But obviously, as with all these things, there is a flip side to that. And there have been some quite ridiculous claims. Somebody told me that I must be working for MI5 or MI6 on this because obviously I was trying to bring down somebody speaking truth to power. And I should just say that I did actually apply to MI6 when I was 21 and I got rejected, which shows the infinite wisdom of their selection process because I would have been seriously ill-suited for that work. So I wish that you know, they'd had any interest in me, but they do not.
And Ros, I've been looking at some of the reaction that you've had. I've tweeted about this myself, and the backlash that is coming now towards the media organisations who were involved in this investigation, the journalists themselves, including yourself, and of course the backlash against the women. Why didn't they report this earlier? And also, just to clarify something, I've seen some speculation on social media that some of the women who've cooperated in this investigation have been paid a vast sum of money. Can you clear that up for us?
No one who we spoke to, not a single source, let alone any of the women, was paid to talk to us. Everybody has to talk to us on an investigation like this because they want to talk to us.
And the other sort of myth that I've seen is, oh, some of these women are doing it because they've got something to promote or they want to become famous off the back of that.
Well, given that they're all anonymous, that wouldn't be a great strategy, I might suggest. But people do, I mean, I find it, the process of doing this is so intrusive and grueling, particularly if you are the women who go first. You know, I have been speaking to the woman we call Alice since 2021, she's been waiting for this. And obviously we needed a body of evidence. She didn't want to be the only woman who spoke out. And, you have to get people to do it at the same time. That film she said about
I was
Harvey
just
Weinstein.
thinking about, she said,
It
yeah.
was incredibly good at that, because what it showed is that as I think they put it in the film, something like you have to line them up at the same time and they have to jump at the same time. And of course, your life changes. You might have had a baby. There could be a huge number of reasons. You could have got married. Your husband or partner might think this is a terrible, terrible idea to speak out. There are a huge number of reasons why, for people at this moment in their life, it's not the right time. And to find a moment that works for enough people is very, very tricky. Yeah.
And I remember interviewing Zelda Perkins, who it was one of the whistleblowers who came out against Harvey Weinstein. And often when women do speak out, they face a sort of burden which many of us can't even begin to contemplate. It's not just getting lots of trolling on social media. I mean, Zelda ended up having to leave the country. It was so bad. Often there are lots of legal actions taken against these women. There's very prohibitive NDAs. I mean, to speak out is not easy. It is not as simple as you just phone up a newspaper and just say, hey, I've got this allegation to make. It's a very serious thing to undergo.
Yeah, and we've had to do such a huge amount of corroboration on each of these stories, talking to friends, talking to family members, looking at text messages, medical notes. This is a huge, huge undertaking, and it is not by any emails, reviewing things like that. Looking to see if if there's anything that could possibly be worrying about any of these people. We have to ask them if they had a criminal record, for example, which obviously they did not. That's very intrusive.
Yeah.
And I would say that people would not put themselves through this unless they really believed it was the right thing to do.
And just before we bring Charlotte in, just have you been in touch with the women since the story broke? How are they doing?
Yeah, look, I'll put it bluntly. They're happy with our coverage, but it's in every single newspaper. And some of the headlines that have been put on things that obviously we've reported very delicately, they're very, very upsetting. And we are obliged in the media, we're bound by IPSO rules. We are obliged to not sensationalise these stories. And I am very frustrated that one of our rivals papers this morning has put a headline on Alice's story that is frankly disgusting. And I really think we should be aware as an industry that there are duties that we are bound by. We have a press regulator for a reason. The reporting around sexual offences has to be incredibly carefully and delicately done, because often, this is the worst thing that has happened to a person. This allegedly, I have to say, don't I? But this is the worst thing. And so we should be very, very careful in the media. I'm very, very passionate about this. I've actually given advice in the past on how we should report these things, because I think it's very important that we get it right.